Oh hey guys, and that's it. I can't take it anymore. I've been holding it in all year and I just can't take it. I'm finally going to talk about my all-time favorite game, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild was originally planned as a Wii U game that was supposed to release in 2015, but got delayed twice, and didn't release until 2017, which right around that time was when the Switch released. So it ended up releasing on the Switch, and was such a good game that it won Game of the Year.
Funnily enough, an upcoming sequel to this is coming out May 12th of next year, so yeah, coming up pretty close on that. I thought I would dive into what made this such a masterpiece of exploration, and what made it get that Game of the Year title in 2017, since the sequel's coming out pretty soon, and it's my favorite game of all time. Well, let's dive into all the things that made Breath of the Wild such an amazing game, then look at some of the flaws it had. The first and most obvious thing it did right is the exploration.
This game has a huge, expansive map that's open to you from practically the start of the game, with so much to explore and discover. There's so much to do, so many things you can find, it's just such a big world. However, it's not perfect. I love how big the map is and all the secrets you can find, but one problem with this big map is that most of the secrets you discover exploring the world are the same. Oh, I found another shrine. Oh, I found another Korok seed. It's always the same thing. Now, this isn't bad, though. I love finding shrines for the puzzles and to increase my hearts or stamina. Same with Korok seeds. I love having the ability to expand my inventory. But it's just annoying that it's only one of those things. I personally would like to see something new to find. I'd like totally new things to discover. But all in all, fantastic exploration and world and great exploration abilities, like paragliding and having the ability to climb literally anything. All the Zelda games have had pretty good combat systems, with the exception of maybe the N64 games, but Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword have had interesting combat techniques and systems, but Breath of the Wild just steps it up. You still have all the basic Zelda moves as you'd expect, like targeting, backflips and side hops, spin attacks and jump attacks, but now you have some sick new combat techniques that can be used in a lot of situations. With a shield parry, you can just parry an enemy's attack at the right time to stun them, and Flurry Rush allows you to get an insane combo of hits after you do a perfect dodge. These combat techniques are amazing once you get the hang of them. You can perfect dodge any attack and use your shield to parry even a charging Lionel. Fun side note, you can also use your shield to shield surf, which makes it very easy and fast to traverse down hills.
So yeah, the combat of Breath of the Wild is fantastic, but what about the enemies you fight with the combat?
The enemies in this game are the most interesting and expressive in the series. Just take the Bokoblins for example. Bokoblins are primitive pig-like creatures, you can tell by the nose, and they are so cool. Just look at their faces when they see you. Yeah, having fun with your friends only to be interrupted by an elf boy. Yeah, I'd be shocked too. However, these enemies, while cool, are super easy to fight. Their moveset is very basic and they're slow when attacking. But there are some harder enemies in this game. The Lizalfos and Lynels are probably the hardest, especially the Lynels. Lynels are these horned, horse-like beasts that in combat are fast, destructive, and they do a ton of damage. But of course, hardcore players have to make it look super easy. But if you've played the game enough, they can be. Lizalfoses, on the other hand, are not by any means hard, but they are the hardest basic enemy to deal with. They're pretty fast compared to other enemies, and do have a slightly more extensive moveset, but nothing big. Overall, the enemies in this game, while mostly not that hard, are still very fun to fight and are a huge step up for the Zelda series. Minus the number of enemy types, which is a big problem, but still very good. Shrines are basically bite-sized puzzles or challenges that at the end of each one get you spirit orbs, which can be used to increase your health or stamina. There are many shrines in Breath of the Wild, 120 to be exact, actually 133 with the DLC, and shrines are great, having a bunch of puzzles you can find that reward you with a choice between more hearts or more stamina. But I feel the problem with shrines isn't the shrines themselves. I feel the problem is that a lot of the secrets you discover in the overworld lead you to shrines most of the time, and I quite frankly would like to discover something completely new.
I don't think this will be an issue in the sequel, but it's still disappointing thinking you're gonna find something you've never seen in the game before, and oh, never mind, it's just another shrine. Well, moving on to a big problem with Breath of the Wild, let's talk about the story.
The story in Breath of the Wild is told through memories that you can recover by going to certain spots on the map after you've activated a quest, which kind of deflates the intensity and impact of the story. The story feels like an afterthought in this way. It just feels like a way to give the game a story, even though that's not really true. The story itself is pretty good, it's just the way it's told is disappointing. And while the disappointing story doesn't affect the gameplay, I just wish it could have been told better.
But this game is great, and it's got a lot of great qualities, mainly the exploration right from the get-go with such a huge expansive map, which is what landed it the Game of the Year title in 2017, back when it released. I mean, this was the game for the Switch, but surprisingly it did get a release on the Wii U. It's obvious that this changed the open world genre and made for a killer launch title for the Switch, and I mean, come on, it's a Zelda game, I love these. So yeah, fantastic game, and my favorite game of all time. Now I'm just gonna sit here and wait for the sequel to come out. Any day now.